buscar que soy en el show. No ven, no ven. Awon of Martini para Beak nikne Wese Nenge munge para Awon of Mara Beak nikne Wese Nenge munge para Maju bueno me Jenny yes no day I won't pulsar like a soul and then so no way Matu bueno Jenny yes no day I won't pulsar like a soul and then so no way Matu bueno me pela Tenye teknote Awo pusale que so el enso no ve Matu bueno me pela Tenye teknote Awo pusale que so el enso no ve Matu bueno me pela Tenye teknote Awo pusale so no ve no ve
Just waking you guys up. Okay, good morning, everyone. Starting shortly. Thank you all for coming. To our students who are also here. Second day of ICT days. We do apologize for delay in starting off this morning, that we will finish on time according to our schedule for today. So once again, on behalf of the government, we would like to thank our partners, or say USP, the Tourism Office, for partnering to for this event. Also, our sponsors, TVL, Digicel, Pacific Broadband Satellites, Opticom, Inomial, Computer World, Interchange, CNS, Redbank, PNPF, Architect, OneTalk, Global Pacific Telecom, SPIM, Mobi Money, Alpha Vanuatu, and Shaba Image. So once again, your support in the past and also for this year's event, and we do hope for similar partnership into next year's celebrations. Okay, without talk, we go further by Yumi opening on time, Primi, also all time. Suppose me sabi asking everyone why and stop what we're doing by Mr. of training the one prayer before you may proceed with them all session go today. Okay, you may Sarah Milo pray, me pray, God, probably in heaven, as simply about the start and day, and today, plus we may play out in whatever the situations we may play make them. I have me fruitful, or me play one karam something, was hello life, me play branches name. Amen. Okay, we have 9 sessions today. First is inclusive innovation, followed by cybercrime legislation session. Then we have a presentation from Medio and National Disaster Management Office, Losite Law ICTs in disaster management, especially now, lo case lo cyclone Pam, where we pass how lo keep up with them webless, this last cyclone hemistaplahem, or also send them lo yumi. Law session number 8, by me talk about geographic information system. And last session plot this afternoon by Hemi ICTs of the future. So by me karam lelaba ting ting and lo how all experts and all leaders play me only think you will stop within the next few years. So Hemi now Hemi quick rundown lo play me today. This evening you may stop listening lo radio and you may stop follow lo live stream online. No forget say kat Pacific ICT Awards. Whereby Hemi stop this evening. Hemi start lo 5 o'clock. You may friend, you may welcome, play me come, and you may look several companies both locally as well as regionally where only submit them interest lo Karam Award lo 6 categories, and more information to him by Hemi come during the day, and you may hope lo you may got one good evening tonight. Hemi first time ever we may got one Pacific ICT Awards evening, and you may find me excited and you may look forward to him. Okay, without taking much of your time, suppose me sabi at all presenters and panelists for our first session this morning. Supposedly, Save come forward. Ikat ITU, Fango, what in ICT. Suppose you will step around. Suppose you will Save come forward and you may start them off session. Thank you. Good morning once again. Thank you all for coming this morning. We shall proceed with our first session for this morning. According to our program, our moderator sends in his apologies. Hemi got one last minute work commitment, so hemi no sada kam, Mr. Paul Nalau, so pa hemi sit in for him this morning. Up front, I will introduce briefly our panelists for this morning. On my right is Mr. Rafael Ala, Hemi Kamlo Alpha Vanuatu, one of our sponsors for this event, and they are a web software database developing company. We're only based in Vanuatu. They are based in Port Vila. We welcome you this morning. After Lohem, sitting in the middle on my far right is Mr. Samir Shah. He's a senior advisor to the International Telecom Union Regional Office for Asia Pacific. So once again, thank you, Mr. Shah, for joining us, this very important event. And we hope to get a lot from you this morning on inclusive innovation. Also, Lofa right, Hemi Miss Torin Langko, Hemi Stap Sitin, Lo Vanuatu Women and Girls in ICT, Hemi one NGO where we set up to promote them interest lo all women, especially now lo ICT and telecommunication. So now Hemi briefly all presenters and panelists this morning. So Payumi start with the first presentation. Payumi start off with the first presentation by Hemi Kamlo, Mr. Rafael Ala from Alpha Vanuatu. So just before Hemi talk, sorry, Payumi introducing topic, Hemi inclusive innovation. Question is Hemi look plan now lo how or whether all innovation problem lo site lo ICT Hemi take them into consideration needs lo all woman, needs lo all man, needs lo all young fella, all pikinini as well as all disabled. So Hemi one very interesting session. And suppose you got any question relating your own experience for you with them interaction with technology, please you feel free to you participate question and answer. So by me start off with them all presentations followed by questions right at the end of the presentation. So you make him time, Mr. Rafael Ala from Alpha to proceed with the first presentation.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for being here today. And what I will do today, introduce the topic of innovation, difficulty of inclusion in IT in the Pacific context. What I'd like to say first is that inclusion is really something that is important for innovation, and that's a no-brainer. I don't think that anyone. Obviously, the more people contribute, the more thoughts, the more difference, the more perspective we bring into a subject, bring ideas, and ultimately lead to a better solution. So it's really important for an IT company to make sure that we are able to keep on top of new technologies and new innovations, but ensuring that we have a diverse workforce, which contributes to the general business. The issue is in the past, even harder to achieve than in other countries. So what I want to do is just to talk to you briefly about the experience that we have had in Alpha Vanuatu with diversity and innovation. I'll just introduce quickly first our company. We are a relatively small company. We are a team of 14 people, and we are based in Vanuatu and in New Caledonia. We offer software development services, which include database development, custom software development, website development, etc. The typical employee profile at Alpha Vanuatu someone who has studied software development at a university, ideally we are looking for people with a master's degree or something. We're open to anyone who has skills and motivation and who enjoys developing programs and who enjoys IT. One of the issues that we have is that despite the fact strong believers in diversity and inclusion, we're still not really good at achieving that. And when I look at the staff, what I can see is that we have only 3 women in the staff and only 4 Pacific Islanders. A company like us who believes in inclusion and innovation is unable to get more diversity in the staff. Let's try to explore a little bit what are the issues that we are encountering. First of all, I'd like to point that in the Pacific, innovation has a different dimension, inclusion, has a different dimension than in many other places, because what I find inclusion relates to gender, to age, but also to ethnicity. And one of the main issues that we have at Alpha is to recruit local people from the Pacific to work with us. So I think that it's probably something which is a little bit different. It really goes beyond just the traditional issues of inclusion, which usually only concerns, gender, age, and other criteria. What are the challenges? One of the first things is that IT is basically something which is all coming from the US, and I'm thinking that possibly people from the Pacific don't really feel at ease with this kind of culture, and maybe that's something which may scare them in the industry. So it's quite important for come to different minds and different ways of working. Another issue which I find is that in the Pacific there is a real lack of higher education in IT. So what's happening is that in many cases, students who want to study IT go overseas, and once they get their degree, most of them don't come back. So it's actually a real issue, and for the Pacific, because it's a real loss of talent. So we need to see and find whether we can solutions to make people come back to those countries. Another issue is about women, and in IT, unfortunately, and it's not Pacific, but women are underrepresented. I'm not totally sure, but it's even worse. It could be also from local culture, which is not really enticing for women to participate in the economy in general. My hope is that there are many factors which should help inclusion to be better in IT and in the Pacific. What I can see is that more and more people are exposed to ICT nowadays. So what I'm hoping is that this is going to develop interest from younger people and give them the incentive to go and study IT. Nowadays, we've got here in Marine Cable, which has improved significantly the internet communication that there was. 3G is widespread in Vanuatu, so that means that your smartphone can just access the internet and get exposed to new technologies, which could it be games, websites, or even professional applications. At least it gives an exposure to those people, and it may raise some interest and entice them to study IT. Other things which are really good about the IT industry is that IT industry has the potential to be a vector for inclusion in the Pacific, because it has a lot of built-in advantages which makes it more easy than other industries to include everyone. The first one is that IT doesn't require so much infrastructure. Good internet connection, then basically you can virtually work from anywhere with a laptop. So issues such as distances, many islands, archipelagos are not so much factor working against IT economy and the IT development. One of the things which is especially for women who have family constraints is that it's easy to work with flexible hours in IT, and you can work from anywhere. So you can work from home, you can work from the office. So it's really something which has a potential for women to be the dream job. They can just work whatever they want. It's the same for everyone. Thing with the IT industry for an archipelago like Vanuatu is that you can have distributed teams, which means that it's very possible to have a team of people working together, one being in Santo, one being in Malikulu, one being in Efate. It doesn't change anything. All what matters with IT is has a connection, what can be done. So what is that there are many potential good things for IT, which makes it an which should be a leadership in including different people. But I don't think it's just going to happen like that, and it needs a bit of help from policymakers and government. What I'm just going to do now is just raise a few open points, and maybe some people from Vanuatu can discuss those with me about what we could do to improve inclusion in IT. Um, what I think is that it's really important that governments have active policy to ensure that people who go and study come back to their home countries. That's probably the biggest loss that they currently have, is that talents go overseas and don't come back. Another thing is that maybe to go overseas to go and study, maybe it would be good if some high-level IT studies could be performed within the Pacific. Something to consider. Another item is, of course, to increase in order to detect and improve interest in the IT industry in general. And maybe the last thing which I wanted to say is currently it's a bit of a vicious sense that because there is not many IT skills in the Pacific, local companies and local governments usually don't even try to look locally and I think it creates a bad situation in which even the Vanuatu government, when they have big projects, they try to tender overseas, and it's a loss again, once again for the country because the country doesn't build the skills in IT. So my suggestion would be for this, that whenever there is an IT project in Vanuatu or in the Pacific, for government to ensure that, okay, they will get some skills from overseas to assist with the complexity of the project, but they must make sure that some skill transfer occurs locally so that the country slowly builds higher level of skills, and also provide interesting projects for people who have been studying IT and who want to come back to the country. So that's the end of my presentation. These are just some thoughts for discussion, and I look forward to see what the other panelists have to say about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas Rafael Ala from Alpha Vanuatu. The first presentation from an entrepreneur where Mr. Bin Falls to target 50 different audience and got all some points where we make them about inclusive challenges. We will now proceed to our second presentation from Mr. Samir Sharma from the International Telecoms Union.
Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Well, in fact, I was reminded by one of my colleagues here that not to be disappointed by number of empty chairs or equal number of speakers as equal number of audience, because in the hotel lobby itself, one of the receptionists, she said, I have seen you on the TV and maybe on the newspaper somewhere. Then what I'm saying is that this is being streamed and broadcast, so there are wider audience. So we are not excluded. We are included actually. So that's where the session on inclusion. So with that, let me just give a perspective about the importance that IT accords on this topic of inclusion. When we talk about inclusion, it's to include in the information society, apart from those people which are usually having got access, like women, girls, persons with disabilities, youth, and children. So this is how we define in terms of the inclusion. And in my presentation, I'll briefly focus on these three aspects, defining what are the initiatives that ITU is undertaking for addressing the challenges that persons with disability, including blind people, as well as people who are not able to hear, or age-related disabilities. Uh, and if you see the recent report of one of the UN agencies saying that more than 1 billion people in the world, they are disabled. So around 17 population is suffering in form of some kind of disabilities. And all of us at some age would be suffering from age disabilities. So it's a very important topic. And I would like to draw your attention of the UNCRPD Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability, especially Article 9 and Article 30. These are the key articles which gives us the strengths to look physical and transportation related, environment related aspect of physical accessibility of the countries. Let me also share with you a very interesting comment I got last year. I was speaking the UNESCO World Event on Persons with Disability in New Delhi, which was a huge event and very large audience. Physically, they were all there. And there was a comment from one of the participants. He himself was disabled, coming from CIS states. He said, "You are organizing such a big event. I don't see any accessible road crossing for the disabled people." So there are a lot of things. There were a lot of provisions by the country. They were talking about, we have this article, we have this regulations. There are a lot of things that people, countries are doing, and we admire that. But in terms of physically being able to provide those facilities, a lot to be done. So Article 30 provides, apart from physical access, access in terms of, let's say, television or ICT accessibility. So one is physical accessibility. Second is the accessibility in the use of televisions or other medias, including ICT. In ITU, the WTDC, the Development Sector's apex decision-making body, which has recently decided that digital inclusion would be one of the key pillars for ITUD's development agenda. And in the result-based management, one of the outputs, it is reflected. Digital inclusion is the mandate given by all the members, countries. They directed ITU to considerably address this issue on a priority basis. And in some of the countries, including other regions like Europe, Arab, and this is one of the regional initiatives. That is, the regions will focus on digital initiative, digital inclusion. This slide briefly gives you work of development sector. We work with G3 ICT. Some of you would have heard this organization's name. And a toolkit, very comprehensive accessibility toolkit has been designed by ITU and G3 ICT. Was involved in this. And this is a comprehensive guide providing policy, regulatory, as well as practical implementable toolkits for the countries who are designing national strategies for accessibilities. And on the right side, you see there is sector of ITU. In the T sector, we developed accessible standards study group 17, and there's a huge effort, whatever technologies that we are providing in terms of innovation for standards, interoperability, whether accessibility has been included in those standards, both in the standards for fixed line as well as the radio interfaces. So this is the mandate of the study groups, which we are working very closely to address multimedia standards in accessibilities. Now, practical work that from our regional office, I'm very close to you here in the regional office in Bangkok. We are assisting countries based on the priority areas that the countries request ITU to provide assistance. I'll give you three examples where I was myself involved. We received requests from Afghanistan, which is again a country requiring attention not only from the security perspective, but the infrastructure is also damaged. There are challenges as well as they requested to provide guidance to come accessible policies and regulatory framework. Operators can actually embrace the standards as well as the tariffs. For example, there are tariffs that blind people cannot see, the messages. So even if he assigns or he chooses a tariff, he is being charged, but he's not able to use. Similarly, for the deaf people, he can't listen to the call. If he picks up the standard, it's none of his use. So we organized a workshop and then we invited all the disabled community people, mobile operators, explained to them. They were more than happy, say, please give us direction. We are happy to be regulated. And there were models, for example, in Japan, I'm not comparing countries, but giving example like they designed their models for revenue because there's a huge number of aging and disabled population they are willing to pay if they have the right solutions for them. So seeing and in this we have developed these two specific reports. One of them is available on our website, along with the code of conduct which industry can follow. So these two are recent work of ITU's development sector. And in India, India is one of the bigger countries in our region. They also, someone made a comment yesterday that there's a universal service fund available in many countries, and huge amounts of funds are sitting in the government not able to use it to the extent it should be used. So the way it is being defined, the universal access or universal service is a technical legal definition that uncovered or rural areas. So it doesn't include persons with disabilities, even if their requirements could be more uh, prioritized. So in this project, what we have done is we have done extensive study of several administrations and tried to recommend that the Universal Service Fund could include disabilities. We have given this recommendation to the Government of India, Department of Telecommunications, and Universal Service Fund Administrator. Now, I'm happy to report that this report is not report, it is implemented, and Government of India launched some projects inviting entrepreneurs to work with disabilities, and those funds required would be supported by the Universal Service Fund. So these are some of the practical examples of policy enablement that really change the lives for digital inclusion. In this slide, I like to go back. Fred Samuel came to me. He introduced me one of the colleague from Ministry of Justice. He brought his friend. He was blind, and wanted to understand: are there any products or innovations or any solutions available for blind people to be able to use devices more productively? And in this, I'm very happy to report to you that we work with NECTEC in Thailand, and specifically country request from they requested ITU to develop text-to-speech software. So when you speak, this is converted directly into the speech and reverse also speech to text converter, so that blind people and even deaf people are able to use the devices. And I have a very interesting example which I was sharing with the colleagues from TRR, and this is a similar contest as we are having this evening for awarding the innovations which have been carried out in our region for connecting to the roots using innovations in the broadband. And I found this very innovative young boy from Pakistan. And he said that he was working in an innovation research lab, and he saw, because of the war, conflict, and terrorism related situations, there was a gentleman, he hands and legs, and he wanted to support his family. And this guy developed the software which can control the movements of, based on this eyeball movements, he can control the cursor and the mouse, and then he can get access to the internet. And this guy got his own job, and then he's supporting his family. These are the examples of innovation. You have to provide enablers, and then you can see the results.